Lesson 29. Review Lessons 10 to 18.
Hello everyone. Today we are going to review chapters 10 through 18. Before we start, let's learn some new vocabulary words. Take a look at your screen. A casserole. A casserole is a deep dish used for cooking food in the oven. Next, a platter. A platter is a large dish used for serving meat. Next, a wok. A wok is a wide pan used for Chinese cooking. Okay, we're also going to talk about modals today. A modal is a helping verb that you use with another simple verb form to describe things such as ability, possibility, suggestion, or necessity. Okay, so we already reviewed the modals can, should, may, and might. Let's look at some examples of these modals. Michael can cook spaghetti. Barb should make lunch soon. We may use the wok tonight. Kyle might come for dinner. Now, in the first sentence, can is used to express ability. In the second sentence, should is used to express a good idea. In the third sentence, may is used to express possibility. And in the fourth sentence, might is used to express possibility. Now, should means it's a good idea to do something. However, must or have to means it's very important or necessary to do something. Okay, let's look at some more examples. Alan should cook the meat tonight. Alan must cook the meat tonight. In the first sentence, it is important that Alan cook the meat tonight. If he doesn't, he may have time to cook it tomorrow. But in the second sentence, it is very important that Alan cook the meat tonight. Maybe he will have no time tomorrow. Okay, now we're ready to practice these modals. Linda, are you cooking dinner tonight?
Yes, I must cook dinner tonight. My parents are going to a party. My sister can't cook. She's young.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Sylvia, do you have to eat at home tonight?
No, I don't have to eat at home. My friend and I are going to a restaurant.
Good. Alberto, do you have to make a casserole for dinner tonight?
Yes, I must make a casserole. I am not a good cook, but casseroles are easy. Everyone likes casseroles.
Yes, true. Okay, thank you, everyone. Now, we can use must not or mustn't for negative sentences. Okay, for example, she mustn't serve dinner now. Or, the waiter mustn't be so rude. Okay, now has or have to can also be used in the past form. For example, she had to leave early for the restaurant. I had to make a casserole for dinner. So now we should look and listen.
Look and listen.
Yuri must use that platter. The cook mustn't come to work late. Theo has to clean the dishes more slowly. The waiters had to clean the kitchen.
Read and repeat.
Now let's review comparatives. So remember, when we're comparing two things, we use comparatives. For example, she is shorter than Kevin. Tom is funnier than Clark. Matt is better at pool than Larry. Terry is more handsome than Marty. So a comparative is a sentence that shows the relationship between two things, two or more things. There are many rules when making a sentence in the comparative form. And than is used between the objects. Okay, remember for one syllable adjectives, we add ER to the end. For example, Walt is smarter than Joe. Now for some one-syllable adjectives, when it's a very short word that ends in a vowel and a consonant, the final consonant is doubled. For example, I am fatter than my wife. So we use two T's. But for two or more syllable words, adjectives, we add the word more. For example, English is more difficult than French. Now remember, for adjectives ending in Y, in the comparative form, the Y is changed to an I before we add ER. So it becomes IER. For example, Janet is prettier than Gladys. Now there are some irregular comparative forms. For example, the comparative of good is better. For example, Hal is better at chess than Julia. Okay, another irregular adjective, bad, in the comparative form is changed to worse. Okay, example, Julia is worse at chess than Hal. Now remember, the opposite of more is less. So we can also use less in comparatives. For example, Fritz is more tired than Steve. Means the same as Steve is less tired than Fritz. Let's do another review. This time we will review comparatives. Sylvia, who is smarter, you or your brother?
My brother is smarter than me. He is older. He has studied more.
Okay, thank you. Alberto, are tulips prettier than roses?
I love tulips. I think tulips are prettier than the roses.
Okay. Linda, which is more interesting, art or English?
English is more interesting than art. Art is less interesting than English.
Good job, everyone. Now, this is a better time to look and listen.
Look and listen.
sadder than my mother. A cheetah is faster than a turtle. Jacob is less boring than his brother. This room is quieter than that room.
Read and repeat.
Now let's review superlatives. A superlative is the absolute of something. It's saying something is the most in a group. Let's look at some examples. Mount Blanc isn't the tallest mountain in the world. American women are the most beautiful women in the world. Mount McKinley is the highest mountain in the U.S. French roses are the prettiest roses in Europe. So superlative is an adjective which expresses the highest degree. Okay. So it expresses the highest degree of a certain quality. As with comparatives, there are many rules with superlatives. So for one syllable adjectives, we add est. For example, the Nile is the longest river in the world. Now, of course, for some one-syllable adjectives, the consonant is doubled, like in the comparatives. So when the word ends in a vowel and a consonant, you double the consonant. For example, Russia is the biggest country in the world. Okay, for two-syllable words, we add the most in the superlative. For two or more syllable words. For example, the pyramids are the most important landmarks in Egypt. And of course, for adjectives ending in Y, in the superlative form, the Y becomes I, and then you add est. For example, the Swiss are the friendliest people in the world. And of course, like comparatives, there are some irregular superlatives. For example, good in the superlative form becomes the best. For example, Italian food is the best food in the world. I'm sure Alberto would agree with that. And then bad in the superlative becomes the worst. For example, American beer is the worst beer in North America. Okay, now the opposite of the most is the least. Also a superlative. So we can say, for example, souvenirs at JFK Airport are the least expensive in the U.S. Now we're ready to practice superlatives. Alberto, you can go first. What is the largest country in Africa?
I don't know. Is it Egypt?
Do you know, Sylvia?
Yes, I do. The Sudan is the largest country in Africa.
Very good. Linda, what is the most difficult language to learn in Europe?
I think German is the most difficult. Spanish is the least difficult.
Okay, good. Alberto, I will give you another one. Who is the prettiest girl in Italy?
My mother is the prettiest girl in Italy.
Okay, I'm sure she is. Thank you, everyone. Now, this is the best time to look and listen.
Look and listen.
The Mississippi is the longest river in the United States. The New York Times is the most interesting newspaper in the world. Seneca Lake is the deepest lake in the United States. French perfume is the best perfume in the world.
Read and repeat.
Now, let's quickly review. There is and there are to show that something exists. For example, there are 4 chairs in the kitchen. There is a new stove. There are 4 plants in the living room. There is a new book on the table. So there are and there is give information. They can also be used in the negative. For example, there aren't 4 chairs in the kitchen. There isn't a new stove. There aren't 4 plants in the living room. There isn't a book on the table. There is and there are can also be used in positive and negative question forms. Take a look at some examples. Are there 4 chairs in the kitchen? Isn't there a new stove? Aren't there 4 plants in the living room? Isn't there a book on the table? Okay. We're also going to review some. Remember, we can use some for both count and non-count nouns. For example, there are some chairs in the living room. There was some noise in the kitchen. There were some pillows on the bed. There was some information in the book on the table. Now remember, we use any in negative sentences and questions. Okay, and any is also used for count or non-count nouns. Let's look at some examples. There aren't any chairs in the living room. There wasn't any noise in the kitchen. There weren't any pillows on the bed. There wasn't any information in the book on the table. We also use any in questions. Let's look at some examples. Were there any chairs in the living room? Was there any noise in the kitchen? Okay, now we're ready to practice. Linda, are there any chairs in your bedroom?
Yes, there are some chairs. There are 3 chairs.
Great. Alberto, isn't there a computer in your kitchen?
No, there is not a computer in my kitchen. There is a computer in the living room.
Oh, okay. Sylvia, are there any rocking chairs in your living room?
Yes, there is one. There aren't any armchairs.
All right, great. Thank you. Now there is some time to look and listen.
Look and listen.
There weren't any pencils in Tom's desk. George didn't buy any furniture for the new room. We need some new silverware for the kitchen. There is a new microwave in the kitchen.
Read and repeat.
Now let's review polite questions beginning with can and would. Okay, let's first look at some examples. Would you buy me a ticket? Can I have the train schedule? Would you sit in this seat, please? Can I buy a bottle of perfume at this duty-free shop? And of course, we can use please to make the question even more polite. Okay, let's practice using these question words. Sylvia, let's pretend you work at an information desk at the airport.
Okay.
And Alberto will pretend you work at the ticket office at the bus station.
Okay.
And Linda, you are at the train station.
Okay.
So, Alberto, can I buy a ticket to Rome, please?
Yes, you can. It will cost you $40.
Ooh, that's expensive. Sylvia, would you tell me where the customs office is?
Sure, it is down the corridor.
Thank you. Linda, can you point out the restrooms for me, please?
There's the ladies' room. I don't know where the men's room is.
Good, thank you, everyone. Now, would you please look and listen?
Look and listen.
Can you show me how to find gate 12? Would you help me with this schedule? Can you find the ticket office? Would you tell me where the departure gates are?
Read and repeat.
It's time to review imperatives and sequence words. Imperatives and sequence words. Okay, first some examples. Let's start with imperatives. Stop shouting. Leave the room now. Please make your bed. Please help your sister. So an imperative is an order or command, right? You're asking someone or telling someone to do something. It is something that must be done immediately, and it is often followed by an explanation point. Okay, let's practice. What are some imperatives you always hear me say?
Answer the questions.
Yes, good.
Look and listen.
Right.
Fill in the blanks.
Yes.
Ask a question.
Okay.
Listen and write.
Of course.
Read the story.
Good. And you always do them, right?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Sometimes. Okay. Now, let's review sequence words. Here are some examples. First, open the box. Second, take the television out. Next, put it on the table. Finally, plug it in. Okay, so sequence words show the order of events. They tell us which order the events happen. Some examples of sequence words are first, so of course something happened first. Second, next, finally. Okay, so first, second, next, finally. Let's practice. I want to make spaghetti. What should I do, Linda?
First, you must buy spaghetti.
Good. Then what, Sylvia?
Second, you must boil water.
Okay, Linda?
Next, you put the spaghetti in the boiling water and cook it.
All right. Alberto?
Finally, after it is cooked, you can put tomato sauce or butter on it.
You are good cooks. Thank you. Now it's time to look and listen.
Look and listen.
Catch the ball. Wash your hands. Come quickly. Go to your room now.
Read and repeat.
Time to review simple past. Simple past tense. Let's take a look at some examples. Columbus discovered America. Mother Teresa brought kindness to poor people. I was happy on the 4th of July. George Bush dove into the pool. So the simple past is used to describe actions that started and finished in the past. Okay. Let's take a look at some forms. For walk, we add ed to form the simple past. Walked. Jump, jumped. Direct, directed. But some verbs are irregular. For example, run in the simple past becomes ran. Bring becomes brought. Do becomes did. Okay, let's practice now. I think everyone knows the simple past, right?
Yes.
Okay, Linda, when did Franco become the leader of Spain?
I don't know. I think he became the leader in 1928.
Yes, I think you're right. Sylvia, how did Christopher Columbus get to America?
I think he sailed in his boat. I think he had 3 boats.
Very good. Alberto, when did Mussolini die?
He died in 1945. He was a bad leader. My grandfather hated him.
Very good, thank you. Now we can also use used to describe past experiences. So we use used to describe actions or situations in the past that are no longer true, that we no longer do. In the past, okay, let's look at some examples of used to. He used to be in the army. My mother used to run, but now she doesn't. We used to speak only our language, but now we also speak English. Now it's time to look and listen.
Look and listen.
Churchill used to smoke 10 cigars a day. The Second World War started in the 1930s. Tito was the president of Yugoslavia. Hillary climbed Mount Everest in 1953.
Read and repeat.
Now let's review quantifiers. So quantifiers tell us how much of something. Let's look at some examples. John has a few computers in his office. All of the spaceships left for Mars. Most of the robots are in that building. The astronauts found a little water on the new planet. So quantifiers are used with nouns to show quantity or amount. Okay, some examples of quantifiers are much, little, a lot of, a few, all, or most. So much, little, a lot of, a few, all, or most. Okay, now we're ready to practice quantifiers. Linda, how many craters are on the moon?
There are lots of craters on the moon. There must be about 500 of them.
Yes, I think you're right. Good. Sylvia, how many spaceships have people seen in your country?
I don't know. I think people have seen a few spaceships, maybe 3 or 4.
Good. Have you ever seen a spaceship, Sylvia?
No, I haven't.
Oh, too bad. Okay, Alberto, where are most of the world's rockets?
I am sure they are in the United States.
You're probably right. All right, thank you. Now, for all of you, it is time to look and listen.
Look and listen.
All of the UFOs were in the picture. Some of the robots were made of iron. A lot of people attended the blast-off. Paul could see a few stars with his telescope.
Read and repeat.
Now let's finish our review by discussing hope and wish. Let's look at some examples first. Tom hopes he can go to the United States this year. Tom wishes he could go to the United States this year. So we use hope and wish to talk about future actions or possible future actions. With the verb hope, there is possibility that things will happen. Okay, so for example, Tom hopes he can go to the United States this year means there is a possibility he can go. But with the verb wish, it's not likely, not probable or not likely that it will happen. So, Tom wishes he could go to the United States this year means there is little or no possibility that he could go. Okay, when we use the verb to wish, we use the past tense of the verb following it. This is to show the difference between reality and non-reality or fantasy. Okay, when we use the verb to be after wish, it's always in the form of were, no matter the subject. For example, I wish I were a rich man. He wishes he were an Italian. Okay, So when we use wish, we use the past form to show that it is not reality. But when we use hope, the second verb usually can be in a different tense because it is reality. For example, he hopes he will play guitar like his brother. Okay, we can also use modals such as would, may, and might, together with hope and wish. Okay, so let's review wish and hope, practice a little. Sylvia, what do you wish?
I wish I could go to Egypt this year. I know I can't. Next year I may be able to go. I hope I can go next year.
Great, I hope you can go too. Alberto, what do you wish?
I wish that I could cook like my mother. She is the best cook.
Oh, I bet she is. What do you wish, Linda?
I wish I were a teacher. I'm a student. I hope I'm a teacher someday.
Okay, I hope you are too. Thank you, everyone. Now, I hope you look and listen.
Look and listen.
June wishes she were at home. Ken hopes to be a policeman next year. Henry wishes his father would leave. The teacher hopes the children will study.
Read and repeat. Listen and write.
Now it's time to listen and write. Listen and write the sentences. Jane has to cook for 10 people tonight. Peter is more handsome than his brother. That is the tallest building in the city. There weren't any eggs in the refrigerator. Edward needed some milk from the market. Would you bring me a cup of tea, please? Eat your breakfast. Finally, the man visited his friend. I hope I can go to Russia next year. Julian wishes he could buy a jet. Now check your work. Jane has to cook for 10 people tonight. Peter is more handsome than his brother. That is the tallest building in the city. There weren't any eggs in the refrigerator. Edward needed some milk from the market. Would you bring me a cup of tea, please? Eat your breakfast. Finally, the man visited his friend. I hope I can go to Russia next year. Julian wishes he could buy a jet. Now, read the story, then answer the questions about it.
Read and answer.
Parrots are beautiful animals. They are birds. They must eat seeds and berries to live. They are more colorful than parakeets, but they aren't as small as parakeets. There are many species of parrots. There are over 100 species in Central America. There aren't any parrots in cold places like Alaska or Siberia. Would you like to live in Siberia? Al's sister bought a parrot. First, she went to the bank. Second, she borrowed a cage. Next, she bought the bird. Finally, she got some parrot food. Our mother used to have a parrot, so she can help take care of it. She even gave my sister a little money to help buy it. My sister named her bird Hank. Al hopes someday he will have a pet. He wishes he could have a giraffe. He could ride it to school. Now answer the questions. What kind of animal is a parrot? What do parrots eat? Are parrots bigger than parakeets? How many species of parrots are there in Central America? Where aren't there any parrots? What did Al's sister do after she went to the bank? What was the last thing she did? What did Al's mother used to have? What did Al's sister name her pet? What does Al wish? Now check your answers. What kind of animal is a parrot? A parrot is a bird. What do parrots eat? Parrots eat seeds and berries. Are parrots bigger than parakeets? Yes, they are bigger than parakeets. How many species of parrots are there in Central America? There are over 100 species of parrots in Central America. Where aren't there any parrots? There aren't any parrots in Alaska or Siberia. What did Al's sister do after she went to the bank? She borrowed a cage. What was the last thing she did? She bought some bird food. What did Al's mother used to have? Al's mother used to have a parrot. What did Al's sister name her pet? She named it Hank. What does Al wish? He wishes he had a giraffe. All right, that's all. Thank you. See you next time.